There's two AIs, and I have a video on it. Most people fail in the follow-up, and they don't know how to do the cards. They don't have goals. They don't even know how to identify their own ideal client. So I'm grateful for being able to teach people those things as well.
The more financial success and the older I've gotten, the more authentic I've gotten because I don't care.
I'll say I hear even older people, they'll work 6 or 7 days. I said, well, what are you going to do with all that money? Oh, well, I'm going to invest it. When? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to go? So you're so busy working that how are you going to even spend it? You're going to take the time off to even enjoy it. Some people prefer to be buried with it.
When I left corporate America, I didn't realize how much noise I got from different people that added value.
I knew I had a purpose in life. I just didn't know how or what that looked like.
You have to build a good relationship with money. I mean, you have to start understanding where money plays in your life. If you could go back and give yourself advice or financial advice, what would it be? Welcome to today's PlanAssist Podcast, where we help people make better financial decisions. We do it by interviewing people across the country, by asking them starting with the most important question I think starts a conversation is, if you could go back and give your younger self advice, what would it be? And then we'll just get into what their particular interest, their particular expertise is. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Karrie Klimas. Karrie is a leadership coach and real estate advisor who helps people slow things down, get clear on what matters most, and take intentional action. Her work spans leadership development, business owners, and real estate decisions, all grounded in structure, accountability, and real-world execution. So with that, welcome, Karrie. And did you want to add anything to that?
Well, thank you first and foremost for introducing me. No, I'm going to say, as I said, mentioned to you earlier, being a South Florida native, I'm a piece of real estate. I've invested thousands of dollars and hours into my own personal growth for the last 15 plus years. So I'm very grateful to, be an example for others. I mean, starting with myself and then showing others how to do the same.
That's fantastic. And you have a lot of stuff, so we'll get into it. Let's get it started with the first question. If you could go back and give yourself advice or financial advice, what would it be?
Well, I'm very grateful. I'll say that when I growing up, I had grandparents. My grandparents actually did put money into a savings account. I'll say I'm grateful for that guidance to say, if we put in $100, you get good grades, we'll put in $100, something like that. So I would say if more families could do something like that, I'll say I had to go around and eventually had to withdraw it, but I'm grateful for a grandfather who had the ability to encourage myself, our family, to start saving, at a small age. But some parts of us in a younger age say, oh, I don't need to do that. I'm too young. But I definitely would take the advice of starting at a young age, whether it's $1 or $2, and just start putting something away and maybe trusting there's another family member who could also help contribute to that.
That's good. That's a really good start.
Getting
And
good grades, again, putting that money into something too.
and what I find as a financial advisor early on, you have to build a good relationship with money. I mean, you have to start understanding where money plays in your life and starting to save, starting to invest early, starting to kind of consciously be aware of that is really, really important, because I find that people who pause, it's much more challenging to even become a decent investor if you wait till you're 30, 40, because you haven't been through market cycles, or you gotten laid off, or, different recessions, all those kinds of things are all part of learning to manage money.
I also feel like if we don't have somebody else who knows how to do it, and we're seeing it from our parents and how they spend it, in the sense that my
Absolutely.
grandfather being that person, so I'm very grateful to him to do it. But my parents, at the end of the day, didn't really continue what he had to say and how to do it.
Right.
So, but if somebody has to lead the way to show us how to do it. Otherwise, as I told my father the other day, I was with him, I said, well, we just saw what our mother did. And, at the end of the day, we didn't know any different. That's just the way we saw it. Not to say it was right or wrong, but saving money would not be as encouraged as my grandfather had put it.
Yeah,
He's saying
exactly.
it, but if he said, here's $1, let's take it together and go to the bank together. And that would be that kind of guidance would be a
Way
powerful.
more, yeah, way more valuable, because it shows. I mean, it's like action attached to something,
Right,
right?
right.
Well, good. All right. Well, why don't you start off with just giving us kind of a overview of what you're kind of focusing on? And I know you do a combination of things. So we talked earlier before we actually turned the recording on that you do some webinars. You also do real estate, and then you do some coaching. Give us kind of an overview of that.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. So my company is called Great Partnership Solutions. And under that umbrella, there is leadership coaching, per se, one-on-one coaching, as well as business and team consulting. Because I trust when the leader is improving all areas of their life, from their career to finances to personal intimacy to health and wealth and work rest balance. I trust they might want the same for their team. And so one-on-one coaching is one part. There's also another opportunity for a business plan workshop that just focuses on a 3-month quarter or whatever 3 months they want to do for their own business plan. There's a goal setting workshop that I offer, and that could be with business and personal goals. I'll say the coaching can take all areas, while the goal setting could be whatever areas they prefer. A couple of those. And then I say that, yeah, I do webinars. There's a company called SCORE, which is a nonprofit organization where I do give back my time, and I do a virtual webinar on virtual networking, goal setting as well. I used to do my own webinars, but I have to say, how much time do I keep giving that's not coming back, and it's not leading to gaining something from that. I said, it's all right. I'm just going to give my time to SCORE and give my valuable webinars to that community of people who are also future and entrepreneurs as well.
And
But in
one
real
help.
estate, just started real estate about 3 months ago.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
That SCORE, I did SCORE when I first moved
Okay.
to Florida about 11 years ago, 12 years ago, went through that process. And I found it super helpful. And I think that's a really good place for people like yourself because the people that go there want help, right? I mean, so finding people that are kind of open to suggestions is also a challenge. How do you identify that group? So how do you find like people who reach out to you? Where's that come from? Word of mouth mostly?
Somewhat, but I'll just say oh, that's right. I also host a networking skills practice workshop. So we've all been networking since we're children, but really we're not taught how to network. When you go out
Uh-huh.
to an event, what's the point? What am I looking for? Most people fail in the follow-up, and they don't know how to do the cards. They don't have goals. They don't even know how to identify their own ideal client. So I'm grateful for being able to teach people those things as well. So I do enjoy, I have a full day today, so I'm going to go out to 2 events today. And my goal is to always walk away with a couple, 10 or more quality people I'm going to connect with. But my goal is to have at least 2 coffee appointments already on my schedule for, if not that week or the following week, to continue the conversation, build a professional network, and explore any opportunities for collaboration. So
So
got to get out of the house.
that's fantastic. So tell me a little bit about once you meet them, what tool do you use? Do you use LinkedIn or what are kind of the ways that you connect once you've connected to them, you've had coffee, how do you stay in contact with them?
That's a good question. Well, I find out what their interest is. Let's
Okay.
just say I have a binder. I just made a video on it as well because I do have a trifold that I created. I use Canva. I teach Canva. It's another one of my workshops. But I have a trifold. Instead of when I sit people with coffee and show them a trifold, I decided I created a bigger flyer. So this way I turn it around, let them read it.
Uh-huh.
So I'm figuring out what their interest is. If I met them from a networking event, obviously I'm usually going to start with the networking skills practice workshop or the goal setting and decipher where they're at. But usually I have them read the workshop, what's entailed, and if that's of interest to them. So my goal is that when I walk away, and I tell people this all the time, I know it's a skill, it's a practice, because we're not always sitting back going, what could I have done better? What went well? What could I have done better? So my goal when I walk away from any coffee appointment or meeting people is, did I ask the questions I wanted? Do I know what their next step is? Do I know what their interest is? So I need to find out if they're interested in a workshop, yes or no, which one, how soon, when they want to do it. Maybe this person just wants to go to my YouTube channel and they subscribe. Or maybe in addition to, I ask them if they'd like to be on my email blast. And so putting them on that list. So
Okay.
my goal is to ask these questions, to find out where their interest is or not, so I can know better how to better follow up with them.
That's good. That's a really good answer. So one of the challenges that I have found over the years, if I went back and kind of looked at just my business when I built it, I would have done a lot better job of collecting Not collecting names because I had all the names. I would do a better job of what you're talking about is what were their interests so that I had a reason to reach back out to them, right? So I pretty much use LinkedIn as my Rolodex. It's kind of my 2026 Rolodex, but that's it. Once I get someone on LinkedIn, I link in with them, then I don't really follow up with them in any way. And there's a lot of people, because I've done exactly what you're talking about, is gone to tons of networking events, met a lot of interesting people, but I didn't put a process and a system in place to stay in contact, I guess is a good summary.
Well, that's what we're not asking those questions. Well, I guess it's a sense of
Right.
confidence to say, I know I'm a solution for people. If I had that person, wow, that would have been great. I would be so much further ahead. I mean, one of the
Uh-huh.
scenarios that, that I use with people is I got out of the corporate world, or the corporate world let me go about 15, 16 years ago. Now, I only had gone to a couple of networking events at night because that's the only time I had. So when I all of a sudden had more free time, because of not work the corporate world, I had my own business. I used to do like home parties and with candle parties, and I used to go to people's women's houses mostly, and you know, people would buy from my catalog. Well, I learned that skill, and I learned a skill of getting people to consider, booking a next party before I leave. I was like, okay, well, I've learned to build that skill. But anyways, I went to a networking event on December 31st of 09, 3 weeks after getting let go, and I met this guy, and he says, well, you just can't be a candle lady. I said, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, you got to brand yourself. Now, we all can have at least two responses. Oh, this guy is crazy. I don't want to listen to him. But I did. I took the time to sit down with him for coffee, and he came back to my house right here, and he co-created my first business called Gift Problem Solver. So I was known as the Gift Problem Solver for 7 years. I said, if I didn't listen to him or take his idea and his guidance, I wouldn't be here.
Wow, what a great story.
All from a networking event.
Yes.
We get past
And
the
and
flowers, but I'm like,
and,
well, I wouldn't have known. It
and went
took
to
time.
and then went to coffee and kind of okay, well what is and then from there it blossomed into a full-blown business.
Right. Well, he's just a guidance, but I still had to go out and meet people. And I met my
Yeah.
coach at a networking event because, at the end of the day, I knew I had a purpose in life. I just didn't know how or what that looked like. So I'm very
Uh-huh.
grateful to make that investment in myself to want more from where I was currently at.
So what do you think the biggest obstacle of getting people to say, "Hey, I want to hire you, Karrie, for my coach?" Well, what do you find is the biggest obstacle?
Well, they don't value it. They think
Okay.
they know it all. Well,
Right.
I'm not attached to it. The question is, well, how much can you keep allowing this? How much longer do you want to keep spending more time and money on it? Okay. I mean, if it was me, what would you tell me? They're trying to sell me something.
Right.
Because if I'm not being my own ideal client, and my world is the sooner I become my own ideal client, I say yes to things, the sooner I can also attract people who do the same thing.
Yeah, that's similar. That's really similar to my world though, because I did the same thing you did. I left corporate America 12, 14 years ago. And when I started my investment practice, I was, though I'd been in the business forever, I really hadn't worked with clients for a long time. So I had to kind of relearn that skill. And one thing that I found after working with clients for 7 or 8 years is some are really open to suggestions, ideas, want it, and others are not so much, right? And so it caused me to go down this path of interviewing people that are successful, that are financially successful. So that's kind of, I'm a financial advisor, so that's kind of my focus typically. And and so one of the things that I did was I did the Charlie Munger thing where I inverted everything. So I looked at kind of what people do to be successful, and I interviewed people that I know, and I know a bunch of people who are really big financially successful, but I didn't find common denominators necessarily across them. I found 5 or 6, but I didn't find five. But then when I inverted it, I said, okay, what would someone who doesn't want to be successful do? And I started looking at that group of people. And then I found three principles that matched across both of them. And one of them, the number one was have a plan. everyone that's successful or isn't successful either has a plan or doesn't have a plan. People who are successful or isn't successful, they're diversified in some way. They diversify their income streams like you're doing. They diversify their investments. They diversify their lives. I mean, in general, but they're very, very open to diversification. And then the third one that I find the most difficult, but I find it almost 100% of the time is seek counsel. They're just people who are really wealthy and have been that way for most of their careers are really good at seeking counsel. And I don't mean like sit down with someone and get sales advice or even input. I mean, they're just curious. Like they have no problem calling someone and saying, "What do you think about that?" And then they have no obligation to follow it or do anything with it, but they just are really good at asking a lot of questions. And the other group is just horrendous at it. I mean, they really struggle. They go to what you said. They think they know it all and they don't ask a lot of questions. They're not even curious. So they really struggle. I mean, and I just find it over and over again.
Well, I appreciate your sharing and I do understand, but I'll say yes. I prefer to focus on the ones who do. So I'm just going to an event and my top qualities are they're willing and they're open. That's all even my elevator pitch. Are you a growth-minded professional who is willing and ready to
Oh,
focus and be more motivated
yeah,
on
good
intentional
point.
growth, better, more goals, work-rest balance? Now that it interests you, great. I look forward to us connecting. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to waste your time and neither do you. So my goal is to ask those questions, which I'm grateful. I'll say my father asked a lot of questions when I was a kid, and I used to think that was embarrassing, but that's one thing I was good at. And most people assume I say, well, lawyers ask questions, doctors ask questions, the police ask questions. Well, we have to know. Well, if that's not them and I'm pulling teeth, then they're not my ideal person to even sit down and have coffee with.
Yeah, no. And you got to ask questions. I mean, and it's not, when I say seek counsel, people give me a hard time about you shouldn't be called seek counsel, it should be input or something. That's not whatever. Call it whatever you want, but
I say seek
it's
guidance. And at the
curious.
end of the day, yes, I need guidance. Somebody taught me how to, when I was in the corporate world, I appreciated somebody teaching me the job.
Yeah.
My sister and I do a part-time thing and she came with me to learn it. Well, I appreciate her taking the time to want to learn, be curious of how to do it. So when she goes and does it, I'm like, well, we all need kind of guidance.
Yeah, no, that's
We've
right.
all had it and appreciate it where it was, but if you want to keep doing the same thing over again, I'd say, well, you keep letting go and doing your insanity. And when you're ready to get off the insanity, well, I'll be here.
Call me. Exactly. That's perfect. So tell me a little bit about like when you sit down with these small businesses from a financial perspective, how many of them go into it knowing or funded at the level that they need to be funded to have a shot at success. So talk to me just a little bit about when you're sitting down with these small businesses or mid-sized businesses, what do you see kind of from a money perspective?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, it's more of a one-on-one with the leader. Whoever the leader is, it has to start with them. I mean, I prefer the small business owners who have, probably under like 20 people on a team or less, but it has to start with them and what their challenges are. I mean, I have a gentleman
Um,
he's a yacht broker. And he's got a team and he never had a binder on them. He never kept track of the things they said or did. So we got him organized with that. Some people have been around with him for a few years and they haven't sold yet a boat. So I asked him why. Just recently, I asked him what his vision and his mission were. He's like, "Oh, don't have that." I said, "Well, was that something of value for you? Would you like to start there the whole new year and having one of those?" So that if you're not knowing what your own vision, mission, and goals are and objectives, and the team's not aligned to know what that is, and they're not even being it, I keep them around.
do they share money? Do they share financial stuff or is it mostly higher level stuff? Do they share how the business is doing from a money perspective and from
Well,
a financial? Do they open it? Do they talk about that openly? I guess that's the best
Well,
word.
that is part, yes, I would say that is definitely, you know, where people spend too much money. Sometimes the clients go back and look at the things that, my client likes to tell me when he gets rid of something and he's been talking about it for a while. So where he's putting money back in the account, saving it where he can save it. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I trust they want to keep more money where they're wasting it, who they're wasting it on, what they're wasting it, where they could be putting that money. So
Uh-huh.
yes, and even if they're wanting to invest it, obviously, like yourself, I would say, do you have a financial advisor? Do you currently work with a wealth manager? Is that something you like? You'd like to think is important? Well, great. I'll give you a couple referrals of people. I can connect you, or I can most likely I prefer to do like a three-way text or email, so this way I can connect them and let you or the other whoever it is, do
Yeah, no,
what you have to
exactly.
do in order to engage
So,
them, so they can
so,
pick out who they feel is the right fit for them.
so I guess what I'm getting at is not so much, oh, let's hire Tim as my financial advisor. What I find is I don't need to be, I'll be there when they actually do know that they need help with a financial advisor, right? So most people that are pretty successful at some point in their careers, they'll go and get an advisor at some sort, right? But there's a continuum of that, right? So some are really more than capable of just doing it themselves, right? So they'll just go on to Schwab or Fidelity and go through a process. And then others might need a little bit of coaching, and then others need a lot, right? So I'm probably the lot. They don't hire an advisor if they're the first two typically, right? So there's a lot of places they can get info. But my question kind of goes, even without hiring a financial advisor, is do most of the small businesses you have kind of have a good grasp of their books and their numbers and their math, even if they don't have a financial advisor? Because one of the things that I find when I'm looking at some of my clients, now I have a really small practice. I only have 50 households, so I'm not that big, but the few clients that I do have that run small businesses, some are really good at paying attention to their balance sheet, their income statements, their numbers. Others they wing it, but they make a lot of money, right? So it's hard to beat them up too much, but they don't really know their numbers is maybe the best way to word it. Do you find that kind of 50-50, or what number do you see in something like that?
Well, I prefer to work with people who are open and willing to talk and share about anything. So
Okay.
at the end of the day, I have to ask them the questions, the hard questions, is your balance the right, do you look at your budget? When's the last time you checked it out? You're currently working with somebody to help that. Do you think that's important to you? Do you feel like it might be valuable if you had somebody else that could go through that budget? Because I don't look at the budget with them. My
No,
goal is
right.
to find out numbers and goals. And, at the end of the day, my client he has somebody else now to help manage his team. And so now he can focus on himself and his goals, because sometimes he's so busy babysitting other people that his time's not spent on his own goals and focusing on what he can do to keep bringing in the income and sell. But he did write down some goals. So I'm grateful he had some numbers and what he wants to accomplish, and, the
What
listings and where he's going to put his money, how he's going to save it. What's his bigger
what are
goal?
some common opportunities and challenges? So not just looking at that one client, but just kind of over the group. What do you see as kind of your biggest low hanging fruit to help people? And then, what do you see as like some of the bigger challenges when you're talking to people in general?
Well, I think again, it comes to their willingness to want to know there's room for improvement, that things to get bigger and better.
Okay.
I have to be that prime example for myself. I always believe there's room for bigger and better. Why not? I'm
Right.
always looking for opportunities to invest my money, invest my time. But at the end of the day, that person has to know there's a problem, and I can be their solution to guide them. They have to want to know there's guidance and dive deeper into every different areas of their life, whether it's communication, professionalism, their team, your own personal work, rest, play balance. That at the end of
What
the day, it does cost, it's costing them money and time no matter what. The question is, are they really getting everything they want and the quality of their time they're spending it on?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or they
So
make the money. And I say, well, I know a guy the other day, he said, well, why work 7 days a week? I'm going to say he's in his 20s. I said, because a lot of young people, I'll say, I hear even older people, they'll work 6 or 7 days. I said, well, what are you going to do with all that money? Oh, well, I'm going to invest it. When? What are you going to do with it? Where are you going to
yeah.
go? So you're so busy working that how are you going to even spend it? You're going to take the time off to even enjoy it. Some people prefer to be buried with it.
So where I think someone like you has just enormous value to a small business or anyone that's building the business. When I started Core Wealth, I hired someone like you. So I had that executive coach. We did he had an interesting way that he engaged was he did a mastermind with three or four, depending on what was going on. And we did an every other week Zoom call, right? And it was with other people who had similar profiles to us, kind of where we were at in our business, et cetera. And we would just address issues that we were having. And one of the reason I did that and the reason I felt so lucky to have done it and kind of gone through that process was when I left corporate America, I didn't realize how much noise I got from different people that added value, right? So, and once I left corporate America and I was running my own business, well, I had no one pushing back on me. So I was like I was literally in a bubble, and it was really easy to not recognize it. And when I would get on these mastermind calls or talk with him, he would be really clear. Oh, well, what about this or what about that, right? Where in corporate, you always had compliance, you had legal, you had your boss, you had finance pushing back on you, you had lots of people kind of pushing back on you, which at the time I hated and felt like it was like a pain. But it also made me better because I had to be able to explain, well, why are we doing this, right? And I had to put a plan together and say, here's what we're doing, here's why we're doing it, and in most cases, basically sell them on the idea, right? I mean, that was the idea. Where someone like you, if you're running a small business, people don't have someone pushing back on them like someone like you can do for them. Do you find that to be true or not true or what?
Well, yes. I mean, I will say that I think if people I do work with, obviously they're ambitious, they're driven. I only want to work with people who value and know they need the guidance. It's a win-win for both of us. I'm
Right.
learning from them. We're a partnership. I consider it like sports. Well, there's a coach and there's a team. And if the guy on the team, I'll use, for men's team, if the guy or woman doesn't have a good attitude, what do you think the coach is going to say? Sit back on the bench, and when you're ready, even a child, when you're ready to change your attitude, come out here and talk to us.
Yeah.
But I said, I'm a coach that's forward moving. Let's go this way. If that's what you want to do, great. If you feel there's room for improvement, something better, what could be different? Where would we be 3 months from now? Where would we be a year from now if we having the guidance versus not having the guidance? Because my client that I have, one of the things, he has a binder with all the stuff that we put together. And every couple of weeks we get together and he has biweekly success report. So he fills that out and he says, oh, a while ago, he's like, oh, wow, I took the time to look at my binder and go through my success reports. Wow. So many things have changed because the mind will go, no, nothing changed. I don't know what this person's doing with me. I said, that's why you have evidence. So when you look at the binder, he's like, I know, I'm really not really looking at it. So, well, why not? That's where you keep all the things we talk about and you go over your goals. Oh, my God, I'm finally getting it. I'm like, good job.
But that's so true. I mean, that's a great.
Otherwise, they're like, no evidence. I'm like, if you don't have it written down, it's no evidence. If you don't keep it in one spot, I said, that's why it's supposed to be your Bible. If you don't look at it, it's not going to.
And
And
time goes by so fast. All of a sudden you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't do this, didn't do that. It's back to that, what are the two or three things I need to focus on each day? And without a binder or without some kind of
right, organization.
yeah, telling you kind of where you need to focus, etc.
Yeah, but that's the
Okay,
goal
well,
to keep finding people to feel that value in that. I'm grateful for our relationship. And I always ask them before we leave, what did you gain from today? What are you walking away with from our time together? Even
good.
at every event I do, I ask them, what did you gain? Even through a conversation at coffee, what did you gain from this? What are you
That's
walking
really
away with?
What a great ending question. Okay, so let's shift. So
Okay.
let's shift the subject to AI. How are you using AI? Tell me a little bit about what you think about AI. How's your business both in real estate and as a coach? How do you see that kind of unfolding today and kind of in the future?
Sure. So before I throw out there that conversation, I'm going to tell you there's two AIs and I have a video on it. The original AI is authentic interactions. People forget how to do that. Now, the second AI is artificial intelligence. So, yes, I use both deliberately and effectively. So,
Perfect.
my business plan workshop that I've come up with, I use Gemini, which is part of Google. So, I asked Gemini what it thought about putting together a business plan workshop. I have attended a business plan workshop. Score even has a template. I said, what is Gemini going to say? And so I went to Gemini and asked it what it said. And about a week ago, I went down a Gemini rabbit hole and very grateful because I asked, what would I charge for workshops? What would I charge? And it gave me these ideas of, I'm a seasoned coach. I'm like, oh, wow. So I just gave myself a raise this year. And I said, well, it's time again. Why not?
Right.
So Gemini is guiding me into my template. I'm using 3 different kinds. So I can say, because that's my goal when I do the workshop, I'll say to my clients, by the way, these are 3 parts. some information came from SCORE, some information came from Gemini, and some came from a real estate, business plan workshop. So they can decide what they like. But then again, they're writing it down. I'll know what's best, but it's up to them what they want to walk away with. The goal is they wrote down what they wanted to. I like different parts of it because some had to do with what did you not do last year? What are your rewards going to be? Because that was part of the real estate business plan. That wasn't on the other one. So I was like, well, I'm happy to give you guys all opportunities to feel. We'll go through each one. And if you like it, great, fill it out. If you don't, well, it's all right. We'll move around and I'll find out a better structure as, 6 months, a year now comes from there. But at least I got something tangible to write on. But I'm grateful for Gemini, emailed myself some information to make sure, I have it for future guidance. So just another artificial intelligence to help me, gain things I didn't think about before.
Yeah, that's a good point. How else do you use it? So you better plan together. How about your clients? Are they using it?
I'm not sure, but I'm sure they are to some degree. I mean, most people I'll use it. I even use email blasts and my social media posts for my coaching. I get these ideas like on Teams and networking and coaching and all professionalism. So I just ask the artificial intelligence, give me a short paragraph on professional paragraph on, for professionalism, the benefits of it. And so that's how I create my post for social media when it comes to the AI as well.
So tell me about the other definition that sounds like you've spent some time thinking about too, the authentic interactions.
Yes, authentic interactions. Well, I trained in communication skills. And so I guess at the end of the day, most people's enemy. I mean, yes, Gemini's on here, but we're forgetting how to have authentic interactions. We forget there's humans. So I tell people all the time, when you go to a networking event, wherever you go, there's one common denominator, and that is humans. But if you're not knowing, like I do, I'll just stick my hand out and introduce myself. And so, but say, my name is Karrie. What brings you here? How did you hear about this event? What do you do for fun? Things like that. But most people, again, this is timely, practice and confidence to have the opportunity to know how to do that.
Uh-huh.
But I think people forget how to do that. Yes, we can get scared, and I get it. I was once there, but my question is, well, what if you built that muscle and you had somebody like me to practice? You can't know basketball by reading a book. You do have to grab a ball. You do need to go to a court. Probably some people eventually will join you to teach you, and somebody will show you how to do it. But reading about basketball is not the same as practicing it. Experience is key. Practice, practice, practice without guidance and feedback.
When I started this channel, one of the things I did is a bunch of research, like you just said, and kind of what were the most important pieces. And what came up over and over again in cap letters was be authentic. It was, I mean, they said, if you want to have any level of success on YouTube, the number one thing you have to do is just be yourself and be authentic, because people recognize it immediately, like in 2 seconds. If this is just a speech that you're given or something that you've practiced, or, spend a kind of an opening, and you'll lose people almost immediately. But though that applies to YouTube's, that applies to life, like you're saying. I mean, that applies to everything. Is being authentic is a critical part of relationships.
Sure, I'll say too, because even in, I have assessments. Now, if I gave you or somebody says, well, how authentic are you in everyday situations with strangers and people how would you rate yourself? In my world, some will say the old-fashioned way, oh, good or bad. I'm like, well, what if there's a scale like poor, fair, good, very good, and great? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, well, where would you rate yourself? I'll give everybody the benefit of the doubt. You're a 3, right? Okay. So what does a 4 look like? Oh. Well, what did 5 look like? Oh. Well, if you were a 4, what would be different? Would you like to learn how to be a 4? And you get to come back and tell the teacher you're a 4? Could you go out and practice and say, hey, I had this conversation. I was seeing that I'm more authentic over here with this person. Oh, I never used to be like that without those people before. Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm not sure what the answer is, but being authentic is a combination for me personally. So I don't know if this is true across anyone other than me, but one thing that I have found is the more financial success and the older I've gotten, the more authentic I've gotten, because I don't care. Right? I literally, like as I've gotten older, if you were to okay, well, how authentic were you in your 40s? Not so much, right? Because I was working I couldn't do what people wanted me to do. So and I kind of went through, kind of fast forward 20, 25 years. I'm pretty authentic now, right? And the main reason is, it, unfortunately or fortunately, is I just don't care, right? I don't care what someone thinks. It's either I'm good connection or I'm not. I totally get when I meet with people that I am not a good fit for the vast majority of people, but for the people that I am a good fit with, I'm a really good fit. I mean,
Well, my goal is to shorten that time frame. Why wait until you're here, whatever age you are to get there? I'm like,
no,
well,
you got to do that. I'm agreeing. Actually, I think you're right. How do
right.
you
And I'll
how
say,
do you help people?
right. Well, the goal is what is authentic? I have to ask them, what does authentic mean to you? Because again, I'm assuming I know what they authentic is without actually asking them. So my goal is that what does authentic mean to you? Who do you think is authentic? Who would you ideally look at and
Who,
say who's
who are
authentic?
some of the answers? What are some of, give me some,
Oh,
when you ask that question, like what does authentic look
well, I don't
like to
really
you?
ask that question. This really hasn't
What's,
come up until here.
what's
Obviously,
a
this is
common, what's a, no, but I mean, in general, what do you think the answer might be? Like
well,
what would you think authentic is? Like, cause when I can go back to when I was 40, like I said, my authentic, I would have gave you, I was a 4, but I probably was a 2, right? Because of what I just said, right? I mean,
well, I mean, I'll use myself as the example because I'm the one speaking it. So for my, like you said, you're aware of where you were probably a two. So yes, I will say that, yeah, I was probably somewhere a one or two. And I think we all have some kind of imposter syndrome, trying to be like somebody else. We're not being ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We don't value ourselves enough. So I'm grateful for investing my personal growth and being around other leaders to support me to come from my heart, not from my head. So I'm
right.
grateful to be more grounded in myself. And like you, I don't care. So whatever they're thinking about me, it's all about them anyways. It has nothing to do with me. So I'm grateful to know that. It's like, well, they can like me or they hate me. They're going to like me for what I say is whatever I'm saying is good, or they're not going to like me when I say something that's bad. Well, I don't care anymore. So I am grateful that I learned how to do that from investing myself for, I'll say 15 years ago. So that was a practice. So my question is, do you want to wait till you're 50 to figure that out? Or would you like to know to be more authentic when you're younger? Okay, would you like to be able to, you know, think about your, more what yourself as being yourself, doing what fulfills you and making yourself feel good and not worry about anybody else. I don't worry about much of anything, I just take care of what's important now and tomorrow and keep on moving forward. But that's all there really is to do. But again, knowing it and knowing how to do it are two different things, but without the proper guidance and the guidance to say, well, where would you rate yourself and what does tomorrow look like? Where would you be, down the road? Where would you be 3 months from now?
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a really fair. And I think just to kind of I'll finish, and then you gave me a comment or
Sure.
finish it up on the authentic conversation. Is you kind of don't want to get to where you don't care at all, even though that's kind of where I am. But you don't want to you don't want that to come across as visual, right? But you do want to focus on, you don't want to care what so many people think because life's just too short. So you need to have clients that you like and that like you and that you're engaged with. And I think authentic interactions are what bring that about, right? Where clients that, like I said, if you went back 25 years ago when I was an advisor, I took a lot of clients on that I didn't necessarily like. And I wouldn't today, like today, I just wouldn't bring them on. I just said I'm not a good
Sure.
fit,
We'll have that. Absolutely.
you know? So,
Absolutely. I'll say, I'll meet, people out at the networking events, and because I am being myself and saying how I feel, and I don't take myself so personally. So if
yeah,
I'm around people who are joking with me and going with the flow, because I meet some guys who work together, they're cousins, and they did my workshop, and one of the guys on his team is like, I'm surprised they're even working with anybody because they're not really like that. They must like you. So,
yeah.
well, who wouldn't like me? I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a likable person. You want to get to know me, so and vice versa. It goes both ways. I want to have fun with conversations and make it lively. I make my workshops engaging, let them play part of it, they participate, they share their ideas or share their feedback. I'm like, it's not the Karrie show. I need, what's your feedback and your participation so you can get more out of it.
Gosh, that's so good. That's perfect. So you want to finish up with, what do you how do people get a hold of you? And do you have anything else you want to kind of just add to the conversation that you found interesting as a
Yeah,
kind
well,
of
I appreciate
closing
the
up?
opportunity to be here. I'll say it does comes as a sense of value we have to value something. They don't value it. I mean, I can value what I want to value. And question is, do they value it? Do they see it to be a problem? If they don't think it's a problem, then they don't value it. Lots of people, again, just where they're at. But if there's somebody out there who values and appreciates and feels guidance is something that could be support them in gaining their goals, whether it's business plans or goal setting, personal growth, or networking, again, if you want better work-life balance, and reach out to somebody. It could be for me, it could be somebody else, but find that good fit that you feel that mutual interest, that person has your back. They want the best for you. They want to see you succeed, and it's not about them. Sometimes I hear that about coaches, that some people have told me that I've asked more questions than most coaches too. So sometimes they make it about themselves. And I said, nothing to do with me. It's all about
Yeah.
you. I'm here for you. I got two hands. I got the time. Who's ready to, get together and make it happen. So, but yeah, if anybody wants to reach out,
How do they reach out? Give us a quick summary of
absolutely.
how to reach out.
So they can go to my website, which is Great Partnership Solutions with an S. I have a YouTube channel, so youtube.com, and my YouTube channel is my first name, Karrie, my last name, Klimas, GPS. So Karrie Klimas GPS is my YouTube channel with over 180 short motivational videos, most under 5 minutes, regarding business and networking and personal life, and just some good perspectives, and keeping life simple, be better prepared, planned out, to get some better results.
Yeah, that's
And
fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And like I said, I usually do 3 to 4 a month. And the goal is to help people make better financial decisions specifically. But I think what we covered today was a lot of stuff that can really help people make better decisions. That includes financial decisions. So thanks for joining me, Karrie.
Well, thanks for having me, Tim.
Thanks a
Appreciate it.
lot.
Thanks, everybody. Look forward to anybody who reaches out.
That's awesome. Thanks.